Hi boys and girls, and welcome to today's mini lesson where I'm going to be showing you 4 different ways to create your Greek god or goddess or mythological character poster. Come along, listen to all of them, and at the end choose the one that you like best to create your own poster. So before we can actually create our poster, we need to do some research. And you can do research a couple of different ways. You can just write down your research on a piece of paper or in a notebook, or you can open up a Google Docs and do your research as well. The different areas that we are researching on our Greek god and goddess poster is if they are mortal, meaning they die, or immortal, who their relatives are, their friends, their enemies, powers, home, where they live, a brief summary of the myth, and a fun fact. For my project, I am going to be researching Hermes. So I have my research paper set up before I actually go online and do the research. On this page, you can see that I have finished my research. The only thing really noteworthy for this particular video is that I wasn't able to find any enemies of Hermes because gods and humans trusted him. So under enemies, I just wrote down unknown in my research notes. The first example of how to create my poster comes from the files that were attached into Google Classroom. These were not created by me. They were created by a person by the name of Brenda Kovich on Teachers Pay Teachers. So thank you so much, Brenda, for creating these for my students to use. And you can see on one side of the poster there is like a cartoon image of Hermes, and on the other side is the lined paper for me to start recording the information that I have from my research. On these pages, on the left side is his name as a Greek god, and then fun fact, the Romans used the same gods when they took over and conquered the world. They just gave them different names. So this god is sometimes called Hermes in the ancient Greece and called Mercury in ancient Rome. I'm going to go ahead and just start to model putting in my data, my research in here. So one of the things that we were researching is if they were mortal or immortal. And so I'm just going to write down immortal. He was god of thieves. And see how I'm keeping my section, I'm indenting a little bit. Thieves and music. And he's also the messenger for all the gods. And I'm just going to continue again, just putting in bulleted information. His relatives. Dad is Zeus. Mom is Maya. Both are gods. And then I can continue to put all my research information in here. The only thing that I want to kind of put in narrative form or story form is when I'm retelling that myth. So I have it in kind of a bulleted form. I would want to say a little story, like maybe one story about Hermes is, and then go ahead and put that in like a story format, a quick little paragraph. If I ran out of room, I can put my information on the back as well. So this is one way to create your poster. And when you're done recording the facts, then you can use crayons or markers or colored pencils to color in your image. Second way to create my Greek mythology character poster is to, again, use a printer. And I could print out a different picture of my god or goddess or mythological character. Again, I studied Hermes, This is a great website that was used for research, historyforkids.net. And of course, my students in my classroom have this in Google Classroom for them to use. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose Hermes. And here's all the information about Hermes. And there's an image there. And maybe I want to use this image in my drawing. So I'm going to right-click on my image. And I'm going to open image in a new tab. If you notice, there's a new tab here. There's my image. Now I can zoom in a little bit if I wanted to, and I could do a file print, and it'll bring up my print box, and then I can go ahead and print it. I could print it in color if I had a color printer, or I could print it in black and white. I'm going to model printing it in black and white. Now that I have printed out a picture from the internet to use for my poster, I'm ready to go ahead and assemble a poster just using a plain piece of paper and my notes. So I'm going to need scissors, my writing instrument, pen or pencil, a glue stick, my printout, and then another piece of paper. Now you can see that I actually prepped this one ahead of time with the information that I showed in the last example. And all I need to do is to use my glue stick and glue down my image of Hermes, and then continue to build my poster around this. So I've already modeled the immortality and the relatives. So now I'm just going to go ahead and put some more facts in here. His friends. He said lots of gods and humans trusted Hermes. And I'm just going to add on that he had no known enemies. Remember, that was that fact that I couldn't find. And then I would continue on by putting some information about his powers. And just like in the first example, when I'm finished with this, I can then go back and color my image with crayons, markers, or colored pencils. So this is the second example on how I could create my Greek god or goddess poster. My third example for how to create my Greek god or goddess poster is to use Google Docs. And so here's an empty Google Docs, and I'm just going to quickly put a title on here. I'm going to say Mrs. H, so my teacher knows who made this, and then I'm going to put Hermes just as a title. And probably the first thing I want to start with is actually inserting my photo. I can kind of move things around later. So I'm just going to go in and do insert image, and I think I'm going to search the web this time. So you can see I've already put in a search of Hermes God cartoon, and I got some examples here. Be super careful when you're looking at your images. If you need to go back and do some more research, go back and do some more research. So for example, I think this is actually an Egyptian god, and I believe this one is too. So you want to make sure you're getting a correct picture. I'm going to go with this picture here, and I'm going to insert it into my document. And for some reason, this image was not something I could use. So I don't give up. I just go back. Oops, I don't have one on my insert image, search the web, Hermes God cartoon. So let's try this one. See if this one will insert okay. There we go. So now I have my picture of Hermes in here. And I'm just going to size it down. Maybe I'm going to put this one in the center, so it's center aligned. And I'm going to put a title. So I'm going to click, so I'm no longer on my picture. See, this is my picture. This is me off of my picture, and I'm going to hit return. Be super careful about that, because if you don't, then you are going to accidentally delete your picture. And I'm going to go ahead and put in my title, Hermes. I just went ahead and put in the facts that I had already previously shared with you. And I would then, just like before, continue to add my facts, like his powers. He could, let me turn off my underline. He could sing his mother to sleep and then go out and have adventures without her knowing. He runs as fast as the wind. That's pretty interesting. And then now I want to actually go into kind of showing a little bit about how I'm going to put in that myth, kind of like a story. So I'm going to put my title, Myth, and turn off my underline. I'm going to go down below and I'm going to start inputting. And my notes say, after born, he wanted a toy, took turtle shell and strings to make the first instrument called a lyre. So I'm going to make this into more of a narrative form. A couple of hours after Hermes was born, he wanted a toy to play with. So he took a nearby turtle shell and some string. He put the string onto the turtle shell and created the first musical instrument. That instrument is called a lyre, L-Y-R-E. So that's kind of modeling, putting that myth in like a narrative form. This is a third example of how you can create a poster for the Greek god and goddess poster project. The fourth and final example of a way to create a Greek god and goddess poster is for those of us who are at home sheltering in place and we might not have a printer and we might not have scissors or be able to cut something and glue it, glue stick, or maybe we just don't want to create it using the computers that we're using at home. And we can just create the poster completely on paper. Here you can see I went ahead and I copied over the information that I had already previously modeled to you. Just have a couple of more things to put in here. His home, he lives on Mount Olympus. On Mount Olympus with other gods and goddesses. Gods and goddesses. And then my fun fact. My fun fact is he wears a winged hat. Means there was wings on his hat. And winged sandals, meaning that he has wings on his sandals. And that's what helps him to fly as fast as the wind. And then he carries a magic wand. So there's all of my facts, and I saved a little spot here for me to just try my very best being creative. And of course, when it comes to art and we're creating our own art, we're not copying somebody else's art. We're drawing our own art. So I'm actually going to try my very best. And I'm going to start maybe with my little hat. So I'm going to give him a hat. Here's his hat. And on his hat, he's got some wings. There's a wing on one side. There's a wing on the other side. That's his hat. So I'll give him his face now. And then I'm just going to continue on. In the Greek times, they would wear something kind of a very flowing dress-like item. So I'm just going to draw that. I'm going to have his feet down here, and then on his feet I'm going to put his shoes. And on the ends of his shoes he had like little wings on his shoes. And I'm going to have his hands coming out. That's not so great, so let's just try to fix that a little bit. Put a hand over here. And he carried his magic wand. And I'll just give him eyes and a nose and a mouth, maybe a little bit of hair on him. And again, just trying my very best. And when I'm finished with it, then of course, just like the other paper ones, I'm going to color in my image of Hermes using crayons, markers, or colored pencils. Now it's your turn. Choose one. Create your own poster.